welcome back to the Sports Countdown podcast with Declan News and Peter Lynch. We're back after a short break to talk all things transfers. Transfer deadline day in the UK is on Tuesday at 11 p.m. There will be a few additions, I'd say, before that time, by the time this podcast is out after it. So, just go easy if we aren't 100% spot on. But we thought we could focus on, what has happened and, what clubs will be happiest with their business so far. And then, of course, we'll talk about some potential deals. Just before we get started, a quick shout out to Freelance Football Ops. They're a top group who source paid football media roles. So you can give them a shout on Twitter or LinkedIn if you're looking for a job in the industry right now. So, Declan, first up, thought we'd go with Celtic, your club. We talked about Postecoglou, needing a few new faces a few weeks ago, and he's done just that. How big of an impact have they had already?
Yeah, I think surprising how far along we've came in such a short period of time. Obviously, we did the episode where we were like going into the start of the season, and I went in fearful of what could happen this season, but it's mad what a couple of weeks can do to change your outlook on it. Now we're looking really good, and it's all down to Postecoglou and his style of play and getting that integrated in the team so quickly. We've obviously lost Ayer, and the loan signings also went back to their parent clubs. So Elyounoussi, Laxalt, Duffy. So we lost a lot of senior players in there. And we said we probably need like at least 10 signings we were looking at possibly to make the squad, not even to compete, but just to have enough in there, like the depth and the way that we need to play. So I think there's a couple in there like Liam Shaw and Uragide, who we both got from Sheffield Wednesday. I think they're more for the future. I don't expect to see a lot of them play a lot this season. They might get a little bit here and there depending on injuries and stuff, and maybe they'll play for the Colts team in the Lowland League. But the other signings are probably first team players, so I'll just kind of briefly go over them. We got McCarthy in free. Yep. I think he's going to be a great signing. Brings experience, and if we ever need that kind of defensive midfield option in there to go with like Sorrow or Callum McGregor, I think that's a good pick up for free. So I'm happy with that one. We've got Carl Starfelt in from Rubin Kazan. I think he's had a couple of shaky moments at the back, but I'm going to reserve judgment because he's just moved country into like a new style of play as well, new teammates, new partnership at the back. So I'll reserve judgment on him. Still kind of hopeful that he can give us that bit of experience we need at centre back. Joe Hart has already made a big impact. I think everyone was kind of doubtful of that one, not sure about Joe Hart, but he's proved that he's got that experience in goals, and he's already made a couple of big saves from the AZ game last week, and he's proved he'll be vital this season for experience alone. And then obviously his ability as a goalkeeper, it's just going to be so important for us the next couple of years going through this transition under Postecoglou. We just got Juranovic in from Legia Warsaw. I don't think he's going to be playing yet, but the scouting kind of reports done on him says that he's promising and will fit into our style of play. So obviously he'll probably be in the squad on Sunday against Rangers, but whether he'll start or not, we'll just have to bide our time with him. I think after the international break, he'll kind of come in and start playing for us. Leila Bada just fit right in, instantly scored in his debut against Midtjylland, and when he's been playing for 19 years old, he's contributing so well to this squad, and he's fit right in there. So really promising start from him. And then lastly, obviously Kyogo Furuhashi has just been a revelation for Celtic. His work rate is phenomenal. He just chases down every lost cause. He never gives up. And from his first game at home when he got his hat-trick against Dundee, he's just bought himself into the crowd. The crowd love him. He's got goals in him. He's got the assists as well. And he's just been a revelation for us. And his work rate and commitment and ability as well is going to be crucial for us, especially getting into these two tough games coming up in the rest of the season. And I feel like we'll maybe still another couple of players to come in, but I feel as though when we get back in January, I think Ange will look to possibly go back into the J League market and the Australian market and try pick up some more gems like we've got in Kyogo.
Yeah, spot on. I think it's kind of transfers that nobody saw coming. Like not many people had even heard of him,
Yep.
and look what he's done already. Same as Abada, to be honest with you.
Yep. So just like you're always kind of doubtful when you don't know who someone is that comes in, but you just need to trust the manager. And so far, he's got his signings kind of spot on so far. So whenever we bring someone in, as long as it's an Ange Postecoglou signing, then it's looking really really positive right now. But as I say, 2 big games this week. By the time this airs, the AZ game will have happened, and then we've got Rangers at the weekend. So football changes quickly. So it went from really negative to being so positive, and like football, man, it just changes instantly. So fingers
Absolutely.
crossed. Fingers crossed the feel good factor kind of keeps going on. But
Definitely.
enough of Celtic. I'll leave it there. I don't want to be too positive about this because then it'll come round. So Pete, we thought you would just kind of round up some of the major transfers that have happened around Europe, and then obviously we'll kind of get into a lot's happened today since we last talked about potential signings and transfers. So we'll get into that. But do you just want to round up some of the key transfers that's happened so far?
Yep, absolutely. I think we'll get into the Premier League later on, so maybe around the other European leagues. So obviously, I mean, Messi to PSG is the big one, but I think we'll talk about that more in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But sticking with La Liga, I think Madrid might have to make some moves. Real Madrid, that is. They've lost Varane and Ramos. Two of their best defenders, two of their best players. They've only really brought in David Alaba to replace those two, so maybe a defender in there. And he's actually playing left back as well, so they haven't really strengthened in centre half unless they're happy with Nacho is in there at the minute and Militao maybe. They got Gareth Bale back, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe some of these guys. You just forget that they're actually at their parent clubs again. But they do have 70 million, from Varane and from Odegaard there. He just signed for Arsenal, so maybe obviously Mbappe is the main one they want. So that's a potential transfer. It's kind of in the works right now, I think. So that'll be interesting. And then as for Barca, obviously maybe the worst bit of business in history, losing Lionel Messi for free. I mean, they have brought in, Depay from the Ligue 1. They brought in Aguero and Eric Garcia from City for free. So I mean, not the worst thing in the world, but obviously impossible to replace Messi.
Yep.
And last one in Spain is Rodrigo de Paul. He's gone from Udinese to Atletico for around 30 million. A real talent in that midfield, and it's Leeds and a couple of other clubs have been after him for a while. Whether that's to replace Saul Niguez in that midfield, it remains to be seen. He's wanted by Chelsea, United, and Liverpool, I believe. So that's it for Spain. And on to Italy, I'd say the 2 Milan clubs have been the busiest there. Inter, they've obviously lost a few other players. They lost Lukaku, they lost Hakimi, they even lost Conte, their manager. But I believe that was some behind the scenes stuff, some issues with their owners and some financial problems. But to be fair to them, they brought in Dumfries from PSV and right back to replace Hakimi, one of the best players at Euro 2020 for Holland. They brought in Dzeko from Roma, Calhanoglu from Milan. So those two won't be too popular, with their former clubs, but I think they'll be very decent for Inter this season. Milan themselves, they brought in Tonali and Tomori permanently. New keeper Mike Mignon from Lille, Ligue 1 winner last season, and then Giroud, Alessandro Florenzi, and Brahim Diaz. So they've obviously strengthened. And then into Germany and France. Then lastly, I think Bayern's big move was obviously Upamecano, centre back, replacing David Alaba and Jerome Boateng, who have both gone. But maybe the most exciting is Daniel Malin to Borussia Dortmund. He's been in to replace Jadon Sancho, so a lot of pressure there, but I think he's capable of doing that. And then finally in France, per Lille, they've been, absolutely gutted by the big sides. We've seen it before, likes of Monaco when they won the league.
Yeah,
they lost Fabinho, Moutinho, James Rodriguez, so many players they lost there. Bakayoko as well. The list goes on and on. So, Leicester brought in Samari from there. Mignon I discussed to AC Milan, and Luis Araújo, he's also gone. But obviously the big ones are PSG. Don't really know where to start with them. What are you saying? Best transfer window of all time?
hard to argue not in it. A team that's already very, very strong. They've added. You mentioned Hakimi at right back from Inter Milan. He'll be the instant starter out there. He's one of the best upcoming right backs in Europe. They also got Danilo Pereira in from Porto, a defensive midfielder who also kind of shores up that position in there. But then the next four, Donnarumma from Milan, free transfer. Wijnaldum, Liverpool, free transfer. Ramos, free transfer. Obviously, Lionel Messi, free transfer. Like four players that obviously some of them are a couple of them are in their 30s, but they'll still get so much to give there just through experience. And Messi's still the best player in the world. And then he signed the player of the tournament in Donnarumma for the Euros. That makes them. If they were in, it's hard. I think it's hard for them to hold on to all these players unless they just offer them crazy money because the league's so easy for them. But these players are in here, and Messi said himself he wants to win the Champions League again, and it looked very unlikely that Barcelona, they're clearly not there anymore. It's not the same team. So going to that team with those players that have brought in, and then obviously the talent, they've got Neymar in there. Obviously, Mbappe is kind of questionable. We don't know about him, but they're just solid, aren't they? It's going to be scary the amount of depth they'll have in that squad as well, and in the lineup that they could put out in the Champions League. And you've got to kind of credit them. Obviously, they're offering these players crazy money, but even not just these four, but how many free signings have they actually brought in? They bring in a lot of good players on free transfers, and it's really good business from them. So yeah, it's just going to be scary good, but it's also going to be weird to see Ramos playing with Messi after the two of them being the captain of El Clasico clubs, and now they're going to be like best mates. So it's going to be really weird to see them playing the same team, but a frightening team, especially if they hold on to Mbappe. That front three can be very, very dangerous.
I mean, they have to win the Champions League, though. It's as simple as that. That's the best team in the world. Like, they have to, and if they don't, then there's something seriously wrong. It is unbelievable. You mentioned a few of them, like Wijnaldum's obviously going to be key. I mean, Donnarumma, I think he's gone under the radar a bit. Like, he's, as you say, he was the best goalkeeper at the Euros, best player at the Euros. I think he won the player of the tournament there. Still so young. And he's just gone there to PSG just like that. I think Messi's obviously still in the headlines, but those other players, absolutely ridiculous. So that'll be exciting to be in Paris.
Absolutely. Well, we go on from the best business done possibly, and have you got some of the worst transfer business of the summer? Have you got a couple of teams that you think have not recruited that well, or maybe not recruited at all? Could be either or for you there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I don't really want to single many clubs out in case their fans get a bit upset, but I'll just sticking in the Premier League. I mean, Brighton haven't really done much so far. Only really brought in a guy in Mwepu from Salzburg, but they've lost Ben White to Arsenal. Obviously, a really key player there. Burnley, likewise. I mean, they haven't really done much. Obviously, there's a few days left, but we'll see what happens. But Newcastle's always a big one, sadly for them. They don't really need any introduction, to be honest. It's just kind of the same old every single transfer window. They've brought in Joe Willock, and that's their marquee signing. He's obviously a top player. He showed that last season, but I think fans will be a bit frustrated and a bit disappointed. Palace, another side who could be in the bottom half of that table, had a bad start to the season, and they brought in Michael Elise from Reading, super signing, but so many outgoings. I think we might have mentioned it before, but you've got Townsend, Cahill, Dan, Hennessy, McCarthy, Sacco, and Van Aanholt, who have all left the club. So that's maybe a worrying time there. They might need to do some stuff, but they do pick up some gems here and there. You know, obviously Eze last time out. Final one would probably be Liverpool, to be honest. You know, it's, as a Liverpool fan, it's tough to see, you know, your rivals, United, City and Chelsea, all spending mega bucks like to bring in top class players. But I mean, I'm happy with the squad that we have, but I just, you know, losing Wijnaldum for free, it's obviously not great.
Yeah.
You kind of just hope that the guys that are there are going to step up. You hope that Keita finally has, you know, his best season in a Liverpool shirt, and he started well, to be fair, which is great to see. But it looks like Klopp is kind of relying on those young guys. You know, Jones played last season. He's injured at the start of this season, but he'll come back. Harvey Elliott's another who's, you know, played the other day. So 90 minutes, I believe. So yeah, maybe Liverpool fans might be a bit worried that they haven't done much, but you never know with Klopp. I mean, he signed Diogo Jota out of nowhere last time out. So it could be a wee Kylian Mbappe on the last day. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. Like, let's just talk a little bit about Arsenal.
I knew you were going to mention Arsenal. I think they've done well.
It baffles me, and this, I'm not down a dig at Arsenal fans. It just baffles me that it costs more to sign Ben White than it would to sign Varane. That baffles me greatly. It troubles me actually that happened. Look, Ben White might be good eventually, but they've spent the most money out of any team in the Premier League, and I think it might be like long-termism, but when you look at how much pressure Mikel Arteta's under, I don't think he can rely on this being a season or two to gel this squad together. Severe pressure on him. Yeah, they got a good result yesterday against West Brom, but they've got City at the weekend. So you could possibly be looking at them being 20th in the table after 3 games. And then you're possibly going to play Norwich, who'll probably, I think they're going to go 0-3 as well. They've got another tough game at the weekend. And then they play each other match day 4, I think. So if that goes wrong, it could be curtains for Arteta. We mentioned on a previous pod that we thought it'd be maybe like Vieira. We mentioned a couple of who might be first to go, but there's pressures on Arteta and they've spent a lot of money, so they can't say that he's not been backed. So this really has to work for Arsenal, and time will tell, I guess, with that. Well, let's go to potential transfers. So we wrote a couple out the other day, and things have changed drastically since we talked about it 2 days ago. So we had Kane in there, but obviously we've found out Kane is staying at Spurs, so that one's done. But the next one I had wrote down was Ronaldo, and we were like hearing whispers about what might happen with Ronnie, that he might go to PSG was kind of what we were thinking, but things have transpired, and it's looking as if his representatives are in talk with Man City.
I don't know what to say to that.
What do you make of that? Just in general, what do you make?
I have no words, to be honest. Like, I mean, it's bigger than Messi going, like, leaving Barcelona. Honestly, I mean, I just read as well. Yeah, Juventus are willing to sell him if they get the right price. Then he's free to go. They had talks. Mendes, his agent's already been talking with Juventus hierarchy. You know.
Yep.
So it looks like. I mean, I think he's just unhappy there because, you know, they won 9 league titles in a row and they lost that last season. I don't think they've got past the quarterfinals of the Champions League maybe for the past 2 seasons. So obviously he wants to win trophies, and obviously Man City's going to be a club who can do that, but you just can't do that as a United legend. Like, I'm sorry, it would be massive. And I mean, to be fair, City have only really brought in Grealish, but I mean, it's going to take a lot of money surely to bring him in. I'm waiting on that.
I mean, if he's unhappy, they might take a kind of cut, and he's not getting. He's getting older, but like he's not slowing down. To be fair to him, like if he gets in there and plays as the striker, they're deadly. That's the league for me. Done. 100%. Like that would just be terrifying, and it would love to. And then it looks like you said they drew each other in the Champions League, Man City PSG. Imagine that match day 1 or whatever. That's going to be. Everyone will be watching that one. It'd be mental. I hope it doesn't happen, but we'll see. And we'll move on to another big one that's kind of transpired, which was Kylian Mbappe. He's got a year left in his contract, and it seems as though Real Madrid have put in an offer for him, which instantly got rejected by PSG. But it seems that he's made it abundantly clear that he wants to go to Real Madrid. So if you're Mbappe, Pete, you're only 22, 23. Would you force through this move to go and play for Real Madrid, who are in transition? I don't think they're going to compete in the Champions League this season. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think it's a transition season for them. Or would you rather just see out your contract at PSG and play 1 season under with Lionel Messi, with Sergio Ramos, Wijnaldum, Donnarumma, and possibly win the Champions League, and then go for free? Would that not? That makes more sense to me. It's just stick it because you're still young. You know, he's younger than us too as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
bags of potential, one of the best players in the world, but surely you want to play with Messi for a year.
Oh, well, I 100% would choose that option. But I mean, I guess if I don't think PSG would be willing to, let him go for free next summer. The amount of money they could get. If I was him, yeah, it's obviously a dream for him to play for Madrid. I mean, they probably have as good as chances winning the Champions League as PSG do because PSG seem to just, kind of bottle it every single time. Maybe PSG could be happy to let him go right now because they've just brought in Messi. I mean, they almost play in the same position, to be honest, like on that right wing. Obviously, they're both going to be starting for PSG if he does stay. But yeah, you're right about Madrid, definitely in transition. So obviously, it's up to him at the end of the day what he wants to do. If he'd be allowed to go, that's a different story. But yeah, I would definitely stay. You play with those players. You play with Messi. You try and win. You try and win a lot this season. You win back the league title after losing that last season. That should be a bit of motivation to stay. And then yeah, I'm sure he would definitely be allowed to go if he does stay, just maybe for a fee because you can't really let Mbappe go for nothing, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go one more. Saul is obviously Atletico's been linked. Yeah, we had Chelsea and Man United. I think he got offered to he got offered to Chelsea. I don't quite know how that's working, but you just mentioned that Liverpool are also kind of floating about that situation. So I think he's I don't know, a lot of Atletico players kind of go under the radar, in my opinion. They don't really go for big money, but they're just so well drilled and organised under Diego Simeone. So I think he'd be a phenomenal player for any club in the Premier League or around Europe. So as a Liverpool fan, would you like him at Liverpool? But if not, where do you think he might end up?
I mean, yeah, 100% at Liverpool because we lost Wijnaldum, so we kind of need someone in there. But I am happy with what we have at the minute. But I mean, you can't really turn that down, to be honest. He'd obviously bring in a lot of experience, a lot of talent in there. He's still got a lot to give, so you couldn't say no to him. It's just whether I don't think Klopp's been allowed to spend big money this summer or any summer for that reason, for that matter. It seems to be a bit of a struggle between him and the owners. I would hate to see Chelsea get him because they just have far too much. They've just signed Lukaku. They're almost completing a deal for Koundé from Sevilla as well in centre half, I believe. They're still kind of chasing after Declan Rice. They've far too many players in there, and they still have a lot of talent on loan. They've got Billy Gilmore out on loan. I mean, surely that's the end of his Chelsea career if they bring in another centre midfielder. I mean, United obviously looking. I don't think he's in that position to play. United need a defensive midfielder. That's what fans are crying out for. Obviously, they have Pogba and Fred playing further up now. They do have McTominay in there, and they've got Matic, and Fred as well. But I don't think United fans are too happy with that in defensive midfield, because if they do bring in a defensive midfielder, that could be their squad pretty much perfect. And I wouldn't even rule out City, to be honest. Swooping in and just buying another player just so nobody else can get him. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what happens. I mentioned that Atletico brought in Rodrigo de Paul, so that could be the end for Niguez in there.
Yeah, McSauce is a baller. I just want to say that first.
Yeah, I like him in there. I like McTominay a lot, but I mean, United fans seem to want more. They want Camavinga coming in from the French league, but that'll be a great signing. But I think they're trying to get that.
Why is no one signed the boy for Brighton? Is it Bissam? I don't want to mispronounce his name. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he's not at a top four club. I think he's a fantastic player. I'd have him in there.
Arsenal be linked to him for a few years actually, and then they signed Thomas Partey.
Waste your career if you go there. Don't do that.
Get that rumor going. Get it on the Twitter, and it'll start. That's how rumors start now. That's how they've always started, but it seems more and more this summer. I think if somebody writes about it somewhere, then
it just gets blown up. Aye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, man.
Perfect. Right. No more transfer rumors because we don't know what's going to happen. But we'll talk about what's been done. We talked about which clubs maybe have had a bad window, but we'll go on to this week's countdown, and I will ask you which clubs have had the best transfer window. So which three Premier League clubs do you think have had the best transfer window so far? And we'll count down from 3 to 1.
Yep. So 3, I put Chelsea. I'd think just even if they only added Lukaku, that just makes them. It takes them from like a top 4 team to title contenders because their squad's already so much talent around it. And I think last season they were kind of begging for someone that could hold the ball up as a striker and then feed the ball into others, and then also someone that's a clinical finisher. And Lukaku's all of the above. You saw his debut against Arsenal. It's his movement off the ball as well. For a big guy, you don't really expect him to do that kind of work, the quick movement. And then when he's got his back against you, he's just so good. He can turn you, he can shield it, he can feed others into play. And he got the man of the match against Arsenal, and it was clear to see. So for me, Tuchel, he's addressed the issue of last season, which was that clinicalness up front. And I think just him, and you mentioned the centre back they might bring in as well, just makes him stronger. I think Kurt Zuma's going to go to West Ham, but really, really good team, Chelsea. I think I'd even say defensively would be where they would be the weakest, but then if they're bringing another player in, I think that the system works for a T to them. They're just so well drilled, and I'm fearful. I'm fearful of them this season. How good they could be. Scary good. So they're 3. 2 has to be Aston Villa. When you lose Jack Grealish, your best player, you think the squad will naturally be weakened. But I think they're in a stronger position now than they were when they had Grealish last season. They brought in Buendia has come in and Bailey come in. So that's 2 wide out options. I'd rather have those 2 in there than just having one top player in Grealish. So they've kind of worked out their wingers, both fantastic. Not kind of seen a lot of them. Going by my fantasy squad, I've not seen either of them do that well. But time will tell. Time will tell with them. And I think long term, they'll both will be fantastic signings for them and deal with the Grealish loss. One that probably went under the radar would be Ashley Young coming in. I just think for a guy, he's been there before, kind of made his career at Villa and got his big move to Man U. I think just his experience in there is just going to be vital for them. He's won titles at United and he won the title last year at Milan as well, Inter Milan. So that'll be crucial for them going into the season. And then the one that when we were recording the podcast that got announced, I think right after we stopped recording, was Danny Ings signed for Aston Villa, which just wouldn't come out of the blue, but that's a phenomenal signing, man. That's terrifying. And how many goals he scored last season and the last few seasons even for Southampton proves he can score goals. And I think he's went to a team that will long term will be better than Southampton, and I think he's going to bang the goals in. He's in the fantasy team as well for me, obviously. So he's in there. Skipper for this week. Come on, Danny boy. All right, so Ingsy's in there. Villa's in it too, but number 1 for me is Man U, which pains me to say it. I think again we talked about how good they were last season. Like their transfer business was fantastic last year, but Ollie's just went out and brought in another attacking option in Sancho, which makes the front line that they could put out, they can rotate that and it would be deadly every single week with the talent they've got up there. Like Cavani, Sancho, Greenwood's had a great start of the season. Rashford is terrifying. And behind them, you've got Bruno and Pogba and McTominay. You've got there's so much talent for them going forward. But then the big one for me was Varane. I think that just solidifies an issue that they had was finding a partner to go at the back with although Maguire was questionable at the weekend, to be fair to him. I'm not Maguire's biggest fan, but he's solid when he's on his day. And I think if him and Varane can form a really strong partnership, and they've obviously Shaw can keep the form he's had, and you've got Wan-Bissaka out the other side, De Gea in goals. or even Henderson. They're just all over the field. They've got depth as well to come on from the bench. They're just going to be a real outfit. And again, kind of like Chelsea, I think they went from being a top 4 team again to now being, or they should be, title contenders this season with that squad.
Yeah.
You're looking at 3, 4, 5 teams that could possibly compete if they keep all their players fit this season. I know City have just got a phenomenal squad, but they've had a bit of they beat Norwich, but before that they lost to Spurs. So I don't think it's going to be as easy for City. I might be made to look like a fool when they sign Ronaldo in 2 hours. But right now, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion because they don't really fancy Jesus up front. And I'm not sure about, I don't think they've got the players to play the false 9. I don't think that will work that well with them. I think they need a striker. And if they sign Lukaku, then if they sign Ronaldo, then this would obviously be completely different. But yeah, Man U and Chelsea are both going to be teams competing up there, and fingers crossed Liverpool are up there as well. Would you? And then obviously honourable mention to City, because Grealish just does add to that. Do you just want to mention any other teams that you might have had in there?
No, I think you nailed it, to be honest. Obviously, further afield, PSG is the main one, but in England, I think I'd say Villa definitely be happiest out of all those clubs. You absolutely nailed it. Chelsea, definitely. United, all title contenders, as you say, and even Villa will be looking to push into top 6 with that squad that they've got this season, and they've started well.
Yeah, I mean, Villa have just went from the COVID season, from they probably should have got relegated from that decision. Remember the goal line when I first came back, down to having a phenomenal season last year, and then again strengthening again this year. So I've got high hopes for Aston Villa this season, and I guess we'll wait. West Ham also have signed a couple of players that make them even stronger. I think West Ham will be a real proper team this year, which is good for our good friend Kieran Turner. Will be happy, granted, if they don't lose that. Nice. So we'll wait and see. But I think that's all your time for the day, man. We could talk about this all day. We say this every week. We could just sit here and talk for hours and hours. But a massive thank you. Yeah, a massive thank you for everybody that continues to watch our episodes. It means a lot, and that's why we do it. If you have not, just make sure you follow us on our social media platforms. That always means a lot to us. Try and grow the channel a little bit. Thank you, Pete, for joining me again. I know with some almost technical issues at the start, but I think we get through that pretty well.
Yeah, let's hope it's all right. It's just, for people that don't know, I've just moved house, so I don't have any of the Wi-Fi or anything sorted just yet, but hopefully fingers crossed, it's all working well.
Yeah, we'll have Wi-Fi in the coming weeks. We'll keep you posted when he gets it. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.